Most people are confident until the world tests them. Then they crumble. Their confidence depends on approval, comfort, or outcome. But there's a darker kind of confidence. One that doesn't shake, doesn't doubt, and doesn't care. In this video, you'll learn how to build it. Detach emotion from strategy. Emotion is the first weakness that power exposes. It is the crack in every ambitious mind, the trembling hesitation that turns strength into submission. People believe that confidence means fearlessness, that it is born from passion, energy, or excitement. But those are temporary bursts of fire. They burn bright, then vanish when the storm comes. Real confidence is cold. It is the art of separating emotion from decision. It is the ability to move with purpose when your feelings scream otherwise. The one who detaches emotion from strategy becomes untouchable because he no longer fights with impulse. He commands it. The moment emotion enters the battlefield, logic dies. People act to defend their pride, not their position. They attack to feel powerful, not to win. They chase validation, not victory. Emotion seduces you into acting fast, into reacting before thinking. It tells you that your anger is righteous, that your fear is real, that your doubt is warning you of danger. But emotion, that it protects comfort, not power. The mind that obeys emotion becomes a servant to its own instability. Confidence, in its purest form, comes from mastering this war within. Detach yourself from the illusion that emotions define authenticity. Society glorifies vulnerability as virtue. They call it being real. But the truth is harsher. The more you reveal your feelings, the easier you are to manipulate. Every display of emotion becomes a weapon for someone else to use. Anger makes you predictable. Jealousy makes you desperate. Fear makes you compliant. The world studies reactions, not intentions. The one who can remain calm while others rage holds the reins of control. The crowd will call him cold, but what they fear is his composure. Imagine standing in a storm while others panic. The weak seek shelter, the strong observe. They measure the wind, the movement, the pattern, because they know that understanding chaos is more useful than escaping it. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means clarity. It means seeing the field as it is, not as your emotions want it to be. When you strip away the noise of feeling, the path becomes visible. Every decision becomes deliberate, calculated, efficient. You stop reacting to events and start designing them. In personal battles, emotion clouds perception. When insulted, you want to retaliate. When rejected, you want to prove worth. But both are emotional traps. They force you to move on someone else's command. True confidence is knowing when not to engage, when to conserve energy, when to let silence sting harder than words. Detachment gives you patience, the most dangerous form of strength. The man who waits, watches, and calculates always defeats the one who rushes in fueled by emotion. Emotion blinds even the intelligent. It makes them misinterpret intent, misread situations, and destroy opportunities that required restraint. When emotion rules, logic becomes a prisoner of impulse. When emotion fades, regret takes its place. Detachment prevents this decay. It allows you to make decisions with surgical precision. No hesitation, no guilt, no unnecessary attachment. The detached mind doesn't ask, "How do I feel?" It asks, "What achieves the most control?" And in that shift, power begins. Detach emotion from victory, too. Confidence dies when you start craving the outcome instead of controlling the process. Emotion binds you to results. You fear failure, crave approval, and celebrate too early. But confidence built on outcome is fragile. One defeat can shatter it. Detachment keeps you steady. You act because the action itself is the strategy, not the validation it brings. You play the game to dominate, not to be praised for winning. There is also a deeper cruelty to emotional attachment. It ties you to people, promises, and perceptions that weaken your will. You start making decisions to preserve feelings rather than gain advantage. You start fearing loss more than desiring control. Detachment severs that chain. It allows you to operate free from sentimental paralysis. You can cut alliances that no longer serve purpose. You can walk away without hesitation. You can replace affection with observation. Once emotion no longer dictates your loyalty, your mind becomes your only master. To detach emotion from strategy, you must first accept that emotion will always exist. But you are not obliged to obey it. Observe it as you would a storm from behind glass. You feel its presence, but you do not step into it. Discipline is not the absence of feeling, it is the rejection of surrender. When fear rises, you do not suppress it. You calculate around it. When anger burns, you do not deny it. You channel it through precision. Emotion becomes a resource, not a ruler. You decide when to use it, when to hide it, and when to let it die. Detachment is misunderstood as apathy. It is not. Apathy lacks direction. Detachment possesses it completely. The detached individual feels deeply but acts selectively. They can simulate warmth, empathy, or passion when it serves their intent, and they can withdraw it when it no longer benefits their position. Their control over emotion becomes an instrument of influence, a way to dominate without raising their voice. The world sees calm. Inside, a calculation unfolds silently. Detach emotion from strategy, and you will no longer live reactively. You will move by choice, not compulsion. Every step becomes deliberate. Every word becomes a weapon. Every silence becomes a command. When you master the distance between what you feel and what you do, you gain the rarest kind of power, not over others, but over yourself. Perception over reality. Reality is irrelevant without control of perception. The world does not operate on truth. It operates on what people believe to be true. Every throne in history, every reputation, every empire of power has been built not on what is, but on what appears. The confident man understands this instinctively. He does not waste time convincing the world of facts. He crafts illusions so powerful that truth becomes unnecessary. What others see in you matters infinitely more than what you know of yourself. Confidence, therefore, is not the absence of doubt. It is the mastery of image. Most people expose their insecurities because they chase authenticity over authority. They want to be real, not realizing that reality is a poor weapon. The moment you reveal your weaknesses, others use them. The moment you confess your doubts, they spread like scent to predators. The confident man guards his image like a fortress. His words, tone, posture, and silence are all deliberate constructions designed to influence what others perceive. He is not a liar, he is a strategist. Truth to him is not sacred, it is functional. He presents only the version of it that maintains dominance. Perception controls the battlefield long before strategy begins. A weak man with the appearance of strength will be feared. A strong man with the appearance of doubt will be ignored. Perception dictates treatment. People will bow to the illusion of certainty faster than to the presence of competence. They will follow the one who seems to know, even when he does not. That is the tragedy of humanity. They worship conviction, not correctness. The confident understand this, so they focus less on being right and more on appearing unshakable. To manipulate perception, one must first become invisible within their own mind. You cannot appear controlled if you are consumed by how you are seen. You must detach from the anxiety of image to design it effectively. Observe yourself as an architect does a structure, coldly, critically, deliberately. Notice how you stand, how you speak, how long you hold silence. Every gesture is a signal. Every word is a seed. The world reads your every movement for clues to your power. The confident man learns to write those clues consciously, not by accident. Perception is a weapon of economy. It saves energy. When others believe in your strength, they yield without conflict. When they doubt it, you must fight for every inch. Therefore, the one who masters perception fights fewer battles. His silence intimidates. His gaze controls. His composure ends arguments before they begin. This is the true art of dominance. To make others surrender through the power of what they think you are. Control perception, and you no longer need to prove yourself. The illusion does the work. Reality bends to perception in every form of human interaction. The leader who appears calm inspires trust even when the world collapses. The speaker who projects certainty persuades even when his logic is flawed. The one who looks powerful is assumed to be right until proven otherwise. In contrast, the one who hesitates, apologizes, or reveals confusion loses influence instantly. The world punishes visible uncertainty. Confidence is not about truth. It is about control of narrative. When you decide how you are seen, you decide how you are treated. People are emotional creatures. They see through feeling, not logic. They do not analyze. They sense. They read energy, tone, and rhythm before they ever hear your words. That is why perception is the real battlefield of power. To win influence, you must command feeling. Speak slowly, not to appear wise, but to signal that you are not rushed. Maintain stillness, not for calmness, but to project certainty. Look at people longer than comfort allows. It forces their submission without a word. The confident use subtlety as control. They do not display dominance. They suggest it. Perception can be shaped not only through presence, but also through absence. Mystery amplifies strength. The less people know of your intentions, the more they fear them. Uncertainty in others is leverage for you. When your motives remain hidden, they fill the void with imagination, often giving you more credit, power, or danger than reality would justify. To control perception, you must know when to speak and when to vanish. Every disappearance makes your return more powerful. Every withheld reaction increases your authority. Silence, when deliberate, is louder than any declaration. Confidence becomes a kind of theater, one that few admit they're performing, but all are forced to play in. The audience never wants to see the actor hesitate. They crave the illusion of certainty because it comforts them. Give them that illusion, and they will follow you, fund you, believe you. People want to be led by those who seem sure, because certainty removes the burden of thinking. The confident understand this and use it without guilt. They know that power is not given to the deserving, it is given to the convincing. Control of perception is not deception, it is strategy. Every kingdom maintains its power through image, symbols, rituals, appearances of order. The same law applies to the individual. Your appearance of strength becomes your shield, your authority, and your weapon. The wise shape their image daily, polishing it like armor. They understand that the world doesn't care about their intentions, only the impression those intentions leave. To appear unbothered, even when under pressure, is to project invincibility. To appear dominant even when uncertain is to dictate the emotional weather of the room. Perception must never be accidental. Every public act, every interaction, every silence must serve a purpose. If you do not shape your image, the world will shape it for you, and it will not be kind. The confident man does not let others define his story. He writes it in their minds, line by line, through consistent projection of control. He smiles when it benefits him, not when he feels joy. He apologizes strategically, not sincerely. He praises selectively to plant loyalty. His every move is a performance aimed at guiding belief. Perception is not about lying to others. It is about mastering the lie they already live in. Most people would rather follow an illusion that feels safe than a truth that feels uncertain. Use this instinct to your advantage. Present certainty, even when you build it on shifting ground. The perception of stability will solidify into real power over time, because people's belief reinforces it. The appearance of confidence becomes the foundation of influence, and influence becomes reality. Once you understand that the world bends toward the strongest illusion, you stop trying to prove your truth and start designing it. The power of indifference is not the absence of care, it is the control of it. It is the art of withholding emotional currency in a world that constantly demands payment. The powerful are not those who feel nothing, but those who choose when and where to feel. Most people exist in emotional debt. They spend their energy trying to please, trying to be understood, trying to be liked. They crave validation as if it were air. But indifference frees you from that slavery. The one who does not seek approval cannot be manipulated. The one who does not crave acceptance cannot be humiliated. This is the quiet core of unshakable confidence, to stand unmoved while the world demands reaction. Indifference terrifies people because it cannot be negotiated with. You cannot shame it, bribe it, or guilt it into submission. The indifferent individual breaks the unspoken contract that society relies on, the exchange of emotion for belonging. Most people need to be seen. The indifferent man does not. His self-worth is internal, self-sustaining, inaccessible to external judgment. This is why others find him magnetic and infuriating at once. They are drawn to his calm, yet offended by his lack of dependence. In truth, they envy his freedom, because indifference is liberation disguised as arrogance. Indifference is also a weapon of control. When you withdraw your emotional response, you take away the power of those who feed on it. Insults lose their bite when you do not react. Manipulators collapse when you do not engage. The world runs on reaction. Every conflict, every seduction, every argument relies on the expectation that you will feel something. When you remain still, you disrupt that rhythm. You force others to confront their own noise. Your calm becomes their mirror, reflecting their weakness back at them. In that moment, you become the center of control. To cultivate indifference, you must first destroy the illusion of external importance. Nothing anyone says about you changes what you are. Praise does not elevate you, criticism does not diminish you. Both are just attempts to influence your internal state. The indifferent person understands this and refuses to be captured by either. They treat admiration and insult with equal emptiness. The moment you stop being moved by reaction, you gain control over your own narrative. People will still talk, but their words will orbit around you without ever touching your core. The world mistakes indifference for weakness because it does not understand restraint. When you do not react, people assume you cannot. They think silence means surrender, when in reality, it is a declaration of dominance. To remain calm under pressure is to display mastery over the emotional environment. Every outburst from your opponents becomes proof of their instability. Every pause from you becomes a display of authority. The indifferent person wins without confrontation because they never enter the emotional battlefield. They let others exhaust themselves while they conserve energy for decisive action. Indifference is also the foundation of respect. When you stop chasing people, they start turning toward you. When you stop needing attention, attention becomes drawn to you naturally. The human mind is addicted to resistance. It desires what withdraws. The more unavailable you seem, the more value others assign to your presence. This is the paradox of power. To gain influence, you must appear beyond reach. Indifference creates that illusion effortlessly. It is not about rejecting people. It is about refusing to beg for what should already come to you. In relationships, indifference separates control from chaos. When you are emotionally dependent, every silence feels like rejection, every disagreement like betrayal. You lose your center trying to please or punish. But the indifferent man never bargains with affection. He gives it on his own terms, withdraws it when necessary, and never fears its absence. His calm presence unnerves those used to emotional volatility. They cannot manipulate him because he does not play the same game. He operates from a position of choice, not desperation. Indifference must be practiced until it becomes instinct. You begin by withholding unnecessary reactions, to praise, to insult, to provocation. You learn to pause before responding, to let silence replace emotion. You detach from the need to explain yourself, because explanation is an admission of doubt. The world will always demand that you justify your actions, but confidence never justifies, it asserts. Every time you remain unmoved, you strengthen your inner authority. Indifference becomes your shield against chaos and your signal of control. True indifference does not mean apathy. It is awareness without entanglement. You see everything, but nothing owns you. You can observe cruelty without rage, flattery without excitement, chaos without panic. This clarity allows you to make precise decisions uncorrupted by emotion. When others are blinded by passion or fear, you remain guided by logic. Indifference gives you the ability to act effectively while others drown in feeling. It makes your confidence appear supernatural, as if you move through the world untouched by its turbulence. There is power in not reacting. In conversation, the one who speaks least controls the pace. In negotiation, the one who hesitates least controls the outcome. In conflict, the one who cares least dictates the terms. Indifference creates imbalance, and imbalance is control. The more others want something from you, your approval, your reaction, your attention, the more leverage you gain by withholding it. You become the source of scarcity, and scarcity is value. The indifferent man understands this and wields silence like a sword. Indifference is the final stage of emotional evolution. It is not born from ignorance or arrogance, but from understanding. You no longer expect fairness, loyalty, or consistency from others because you have learned the rules of power, that people act for themselves, that the world rewards appearances, that emotion is leverage. By accepting these truths without bitterness, you free yourself from disappointment. You stop demanding order from chaos and instead learn to navigate it with composure. Indifference, then, becomes the armor that allows confidence to survive in any environment. Dominance through silence. Silence is the purest language of power. Words are tools of the ordinary, noise created to fill the emptiness of uncertainty. But silence belongs to those who do not need to prove, persuade, or justify. It is the mark of control, the calm that unsettles the insecure. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes a weapon. The confident do not speak to be heard, they speak only to command. Every word is chosen like a blade, precise, rare, and deliberate. Those who dominate through silence understand that the absence of sound often carries more weight than the loudest declaration. People reveal their weaknesses through their words. They speak to explain, to defend, to seek validation. They speak because they cannot bear the discomfort of being misunderstood. But power requires indifference to misunderstanding. The dominant man knows that silence invites curiosity, and curiosity gives him control. When you speak less, people start imagining more. They fill the gaps with assumptions, often granting you more intelligence, more depth, more strength than you actually display. Silence becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurities, a canvas on which they paint their own interpretations. You control perception by withholding expression. The art of dominance through silence is not passive. It is an active restraint, the discipline to say nothing when your ego demands reaction. It takes greater strength to hold your tongue than to raise your voice. The world provokes you constantly, testing your composure, baiting your emotions. Every insult, every challenge, every disagreement is an invitation to lose control. When you resist, you expose your power. The man who cannot be provoked is feared because he is unpredictable. Rage can be measured, but calm cannot. Silence hides intention, and intention is what others fear most. When you walk into a room, speak less than everyone else. Let your stillness shape the air around you. The more others talk, the more they reveal. The less you talk, the more they project. Words are confessions. Every sentence exposes a motive. The one who listens gathers ammunition. Every silence becomes an act of surveillance. People show you who they are when you say nothing. They try to impress you, challenge you, or fill the void of your quiet with their nervous chatter. Your restraint turns them transparent. You learn more from silence than you ever could from speaking. In conversation, silence creates imbalance. It makes others desperate to close the gap. They rush to fill it, to ease their discomfort. They reveal truths they didn't intend to share, agree to terms they didn't mean to accept, and surrender to a calm they can't replicate. The confident man knows this rhythm well. He uses silence to lure, to test, to dominate. He understands that every pause is pressure, and every measured gaze is an unspoken command. He doesn't compete for attention. He forces attention to come to him. Silence amplifies authority. When you finally speak after long restraint, your words carry weight. People listen because they have learned that your speech is rare, and rarity breeds value. The louder the world becomes, the more sacred your quiet becomes. It signals control, and control commands respect. The dominant individual does not waste energy trying to be understood. He speaks when it changes outcomes, not when it satisfies ego. Every word is a transaction of influence. Every silence is an investment in mystery. Dominance through silence also demands control over emotion. Anger, fear, excitement, all of these crave expression. They beg to escape through words. But when you restrain them, you convert emotion into presence. Others can feel the tension but cannot decipher it. That uncertainty becomes your weapon. They sense your composure and cannot tell if it hides patience or danger. Silence turns emotion into power because it conceals its direction. You may be planning revenge, or you may have already moved on. They never know, and that is what keeps them cautious. In negotiation, silence is the most persuasive argument. Speak your demand, then say nothing. The void that follows becomes unbearable to the other side. They fill it with concessions, explanations, or excuses. The one who can tolerate silence longer always wins. It is the same in conflict, in seduction, in leadership. Silence shifts control without confrontation. The loud seek to dominate by force, the silent dominate by gravity. Their stillness draws others into their orbit. There is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when you master silence. People begin to respect you before you have done anything to earn it. They mistake restraint for depth, stillness for confidence, minimal speech for wisdom. This illusion works because most people cannot remain quiet without appearing insecure. They fidget, explain, fill gaps with meaningless words. But the silent man holds himself still, speaks in measured tones, and lets others drown in their own noise. His power does not come from volume, it comes from presence. To dominate through silence, you must stop using words as emotional release. Most conversations are disguised forms of anxiety. People talk to avoid thinking. They talk to convince themselves that they have control. Silence removes that illusion. It exposes the weakness of those who depend on noise to feel significant. The silent person, in contrast, finds comfort in absence. He does not fear space, he controls it. Every moment of quiet becomes a test of will, and he always wins because he does not need noise to exist. The world equates talk with confidence, but that is the illusion of the insecure. Real power is quiet. It does not announce itself, it radiates. You can sense it in the man who watches more than he speaks, who moves deliberately, who lets others expose themselves while he stays unreadable. Silence gives you invisibility until you choose to be seen. It gives you the advantage of surprise, the luxury of observation, and the dignity of composure. The moment you realize that words are a currency of the weak and silence is the language of kings, you begin to understand how dominance truly operates. Controlled ruthlessness is often misunderstood as cruelty, but cruelty is chaos, uncontrolled, emotional, self-destructive. True ruthlessness is order. It is discipline sharpened into decision. It is the ability to cut away weakness, to remove what no longer serves your ascent without hesitation or regret. The powerful do not act ruthlessly because they enjoy destruction. They act ruthlessly because survival demands precision. Every empire, every legacy, Every individual who rose above mediocrity did so by mastering the art of removal, the silent execution of the unnecessary. Controlled ruthlessness is not about harm. It is about clarity. It is knowing what must be sacrificed so that your power remains intact. The weak confuse mercy with morality. They think that to be good is to be agreeable, that to be kind is to be harmless. But harmlessness is not virtue, it is weakness disguised as decency. Controlled ruthlessness is the rejection of weakness disguised as goodness. It is the refusal to let emotion, guilt, or comfort dictate your choices. The confident understand that every decision carries blood on its edge, the blood of comfort, habit, and attachment. To move forward, something must die. The difference between the powerful and the powerless is who chooses what that will be. Controlled ruthlessness begins with the self. Before you can eliminate external weakness, you must destroy the one within. Your laziness, your hesitation, your need to be liked. These are the parasites that drain your strength. You must learn to kill them without ceremony. Self-discipline is the first act of ruthlessness. To wake when tired, to persist when uncertain, to continue when uninspired. These are small executions of the lesser self. The mind becomes sharper each time it denies comfort. The man who can command himself no longer fears commanding others. His will becomes law within his own body. Ruthlessness toward others is not random aggression. It is selective removal. The world is filled with people who feed off your energy. The insecure, the envious, the idle. They disguise their weakness as love, loyalty, or friendship, but their presence drains your ambition. Controlled ruthlessness is the courage to cut them away without apology. You owe nothing to those who stunt your growth. The tree that keeps every branch eventually collapses under its own weight. The same law governs ambition. Prune or perish. You cannot carry everyone and rise at the same time. Those who fear being ruthless end up ruled by those who are. The timid lie on their knees, begging for fairness in a world that rewards dominance. Controlled ruthlessness understands this reality and operates within it without shame. It does not seek fairness, it seeks results. When a decision must be made, it does not wait for universal approval. It moves with quiet certainty, aware that progress will always offend the weak. To be ruthless is to accept being misunderstood. The masses cannot comprehend restraint without compassion or power without apology. Their confusion is the mark of your advancement. Controlled ruthlessness is not loud. It is silent, calm, and deliberate. The ruthless do not rage, they remove. They do not threaten, they act. Every movement is clean, without drama or justification. It is this composure that gives their actions weight. Others may call them heartless, but that word is spoken by those who cannot separate heart from impulse. The truly powerful feel deeply but do not let feeling dictate command. They can care and still cut, love and still leave, help and still harden. This duality is what makes them dangerous. They have emotion, but emotion does not have them. When confidence grows, ruthlessness must follow, not as cruelty, but as protection. Power attracts dependency. Success attracts parasites. The more you rise, the more you become a target for manipulation. Controlled ruthlessness becomes your defense. It allows you to enforce boundaries without guilt, to say no without explanation, to remove threats before they bloom. The weak wait for evidence of betrayal. The ruthless sense it before it manifests. They trust patterns, not apologies. Their detachment keeps them free. Their decisiveness keeps them safe. They do not punish disloyalty. They erase it. There is also an elegance to controlled ruthlessness, a precision that separates it from barbarism. The barbaric destroy everything in their path. The disciplined eliminate only what obstructs them. They understand the economy of power, that every unnecessary act of aggression depletes influence. To be ruthless effectively, you must calculate. Strike only when it secures position. Remove only what threatens stability. Say only what enforces command. Every move must serve a purpose, and every silence must conceal intent. The ruthless do not react, they orchestrate. Ruthlessness becomes confidence in motion. The hesitant seek permission to act. The ruthless act and make others adjust. Their strength comes not from cruelty but from conviction. They do not ask, "Is this right?" They ask, "Does this preserve my control?" Morality bends under necessity, not because it is worthless, but because it is relative to survival. The world belongs to those who can make hard choices without trembling. Mercy is admirable, but when misplaced, it becomes surrender. Controlled ruthlessness ensures that your mercy remains a choice, not a weakness exploited by others. This mindset does not destroy empathy, it refines it. You can still feel compassion, but you no longer allow it to dictate your fate. You can understand suffering without inheriting it. Controlled ruthlessness draws a boundary between understanding and obligation. You may see someone drowning, but you no longer jump in to save them if it means drowning yourself. You throw the rope, but you do not dive. This is not heartlessness, it is hierarchy. You cannot lead if you are constantly pulled down by those unwilling to swim. The truly confident understand that ruthlessness is not about dominance over others but mastery over choice. It is the courage to act when others hesitate, the clarity to end what no longer serves purpose, the composure to remain unmoved by judgment. Controlled ruthlessness transforms fear into authority. It takes what emotion builds and converts it into decision. It does not destroy for pleasure but prunes for power. Every great leader, every unshaken mind, carries a blade of judgment within them, unseen, cold, and waiting for the moment when sentiment threatens strength. Power is not born in noise, emotion, or approval. It is built in silence, detachment, and precision. The lessons you've just heard are not theories. They are weapons for those who dare to think differently. When you begin to detach emotion from strategy, control perception, embrace indifference, wield silence, and act with controlled ruthlessness, you stop living as a follower of chaos and start ruling over it. You become the kind of person people watch carefully, not because you ask for attention, but because you command it effortlessly. Most will never reach this level of control. They'll keep chasing validation, comfort, and noise. But if you're still here, listening, it means you're not like them. You're ready to understand the darker mechanics of confidence, the kind that bends reality around willpower. If you crave more than motivation, if you want mastery, subscribe. Every story that follows will carve deeper into the psychology of dominance, discipline, and control. The next one won't just inspire you, it will rewire how you see power itself. The game isn't over, it's only beginning. Stay ruthless, stay focused, and never stop evolving.